We clap with me?
Yeah. Ah, it's bad.
That was good. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Phillip Jones, and today I'm joined by Sara Ness.
Phil for you.
She's Chief Catalyst at Authentic Revolution, as well as an advisor to social health organizations such as Seek Healing and Rethink Wellbeing. Welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah. You want to wave to everybody? They live in these cameras.
Hi, folks.
Today, Phil fails at authentic relating, which has been something you've been dabbling in, or not dabbling. You've been deep
Kinda
in authentic relating for a long time.
existing in, swimming in.
And teaching and training folks to teach and
Mm-hmm.
kind of leading a business that does that, right?
Yeah.
Authentic Revolution.
Yeah.
Where'd that start?
I used to live in the housing co-ops in Austin. I used to live at Royal Co-op. Maybe some folks know that. And housing co-ops are a weird idea, right? Like you go from living with your parents usually and having almost no responsibility for most of us to living with a bunch of 17 to 20 somethings being given full control over the house, full control over the budget, and needing to like figure out all your dynamics and resolve your conflict. Like no RAs, nothing. So they're a little bit of a clusterfuck, to be honest.
Yeah.
At least kind of culturally speaking. And over time, you do figure out how to interact with other people. You figure out how to make decisions, but it's very kind of learn on the job. And so number one, that just made me fascinated about how people interacted with each other. Like, why did sometimes decisions go really wrong? Why did some house members work better with others, or some groups as a whole work better, even if members of them were not as kind of skilled? And out of the housing co-ops, I ended up taking a trip across the US to visit a whole bunch of other co-ops, communes, co-housing communities to see how they worked. Like, what can you do in college, but also what can you do afterwards to live with other people? And when I was on that journey, I stumbled across my first ecstatic dance. I met someone there that had done authentic relating at this center in Boulder. And I got really interested because I felt like I grew up really isolated. I'm probably a little on the autism spectrum. Like, I never kind of learned the norms of social interaction. So I made lots of mistakes with it. Won friends, lost friends, got kind of mostly kicked out of about 13 different living situations while I was in Austin, just because I couldn't get the social norms. And with authentic relating, they had these games that were like, okay, here are the rules of the social interaction for this period of time.
Now play.
Exactly. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you can do that? It was amazingly relieving, and it was amazing training. It was the first time someone had gone, these are skills that you can learn. And it was wonderful for me. And I became a little obsessed, and I started helping the guys I'd met in Houston at this ecstatic dance to create community among the ecstatic dancers there and lead these. And then I went back to school in Austin. I'd taken a year off to do this travel. Went back for my senior year, started a community out of the housing co-ops there. And people just loved it, and it grew. And that community has been going continuously in Austin for 12 years now, maybe.
Yeah.
And in Houston.
It's interesting you'd mentioned, like, I've attended Authentic Relating here, and one of the most vulnerable things I think I could share with you is that, and I feel more like comfortable sharing it because you told me you got kicked out of all these co-ops. I was actually kicked off of Authentic Revolution.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I was there I don't remember what I feel a little bit of sadness sharing it, but like, yeah, I participated for a couple of months, and I think I'm just a weird dude that kind of was trying my best to be authentic and to, like, participate in the community. I think people were off put by my, like, the way I showed up. And there was a decision to, like, have me not be a part of that anymore.
Wow.
And it's been a part of my kind of experience as a neurodivergent human being, like,
Mhm.
not participating in groups or being invited to not continue. It's
That's really
sad.
difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But it sounds like that was part of your experience too.
Yeah.
So I'm in good company.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I also love ecstatic dance.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's tough. It's like in those communities being a facilitator. And if this happened in the last couple years, like my organization no longer runs it. It's run by a nonprofit called
Oh,
Connect Humanity.
yeah.
So I kind of didn't know that situation. But it's a difficulty that I've found in being a facilitator and being a community leader. It's like when there's this metaphor of a missing stair that's been really impactful to me, which is like
Yeah.
a guy goes into a bar
Mhm.
and at some point while he's there, he says, I need to go to the bathroom. Where is it? The bartender says, you go around the side of the building, up some stairs. The bathroom's at the top of the stairs. Guy goes around the building. He starts climbing the stairs. Halfway up, his foot goes through a stair. Gets to the bathroom, gets back down, has like a little bit of a limp. And he goes to the bartender and he says, why didn't you tell me there was a missing stair? And the bartender says, well, everybody knows to hop that. And it's kind of a metaphor for having people in community where it's like you can have people who are different than others, but then it becomes in a way a missing stair where the people who have been there know how to interact. And the people who haven't been there are like, how do I navigate with this person? We actually have someone like this in one of our conflict classes right now.
Yeah.
And we've navigated it by just making sure the facilitators play with him because he's an outlier because he's a computer scientist. Like he doesn't quite always get the exercises we're doing. He's not quite as vulnerable. But if you understand that personality type, you're like, well, it totally makes sense. And he has perspectives that nobody else will. In public events, it can be harder because you're like, what is the degree of variance that we can navigate here? And how do
Yeah.
we introduce other people to what that degree of variance will be? I really like having high variance in communities. And I like giving the context of you're going to meet a lot of different sorts of people here. And some of them may not fit the norm that you think people should do here.
Yeah.
So treat it as a learning opportunity for how people interact in the real world and how you're going to navigate. Because if you're learning communication skills, it's useless if you're just using them with people like you.
Yeah.